Oi oi, it's Lord Lav. On this video I'm going to show you how to put together this wavy organ type hip hop beat, which is sort of, I've classed it as a Tyler the Creator type beat or Odd Future type beat, just because it's got this kind of real wavy type vibe to it. But looking forward to show you how to put this together, and go check it out.
Okay, starting off, I used this jazz fusion organ sound, which is just it's one of the like instruments to use on Logic, and I basically just wanted to create something that I would choose to sample, a little bit like doing it with a record. You know, like you think this is going to be a hip hop track, so and hip hop's generally historically been based on sampling like old records and stuff. But rather than me going and say sampling an old record and then having to deal with like clearance nonsense and all of that, I just wanted to create my own sound basically and sample that, so I can still create that kind of sample type vibe that you get in hip hop, which is common, but yeah, I'm essentially creating all the sounds myself. So I did it this way. I started off with this interesting uh, jazz fusion organ sound, which you can get on Logic, and I just basically made some chords out of it. Just started off with just some interesting different notes. Um, Nothing too spectacular or special, but you can hear that here. It just sounds like this. And that sounds pretty boring, but on top of that, I used a chord trigger just so I could basically turn those sounds into chords. And you can see the chords that I'm playing just with this. Um, I'm not a super brilliant musician. Like I can play keys a little bit, but I'm not great. So, you know, but I understand theory pretty well, so I know how to get the sort of sounds I want. So things like a chord trigger are pretty brilliant for me, because it means I can just say play that, and it plays that for me, as long as I know what chords it is. So you can just, these are real simple sort of chords. You can see what they are here when I play it, and also you can hear it sounds a lot different when I make just those single notes into chords. So that's that. Pretty boring initially, but you can just see where my mind's going and how I add to this as I go. And still looking at this from a pretty basic point of view, I've added some drums to this. Nothing too special, just a kick, a snare, and a hat. Real basic sounding. Again, this is like some kind of old school, like hip hop type vibe I'm going with. I've added some I added a bit of an echo to the snare just to give it a bit more of an interesting sound, and there's some reverb on the drums as well. But I mean, you can listen to the drums without any like reverb or anything, and it makes it all sound a little bit flat and pants basically. But if you add the reverb and stuff, it makes it a bit more interesting. So let's just play this for you, just so you can see. And then if you see me add the reverb to it, it makes it much more interesting. And then adding an echo to the snare just makes the snare sound more interesting. So all pretty basic at the moment, but you can just see how making little subtle changes adds a lot more depth to something that otherwise is actually pretty simple. So this is where things start to get a bit more interesting. Rather than just having like the MIDI track, like the jazz organ as like a MIDI track, just with the chord trigger, I actually converted it into audio. I actually did some EQing on it and change like the sound a little bit more on the actual sampler, just to switch the sound, and also did some other things like um, took just played with it, like because it was a sampled bit and I've converted it to audio. I actually reversed the audio, so certain bits sound a bit more interesting. you can also see here that I've put fades in between each track to stop it from clipping, because what I basically did is converted it to audio and then just chopped tiny sections I wanted, just like you would if you sampled a bit of vinyl and sampled like an interesting sound, and then you chop it up on the pads if you're using an MPC or anything like that. That's basically what I did here, but I just did it with something I already created, and then just played with the sound from there. And again, because it's audio, as I say, I just after that just made some interesting sounds by reversing it. So the beginning of this track actually is one of the organ sounds, but just put in reverse because it just sounded cool to me. And on top of that, I also put an echo delay on there as well, and just EQ'd it just to make it a bit more interesting. But I think this, you heard the organ sound earlier. I think this makes it sound a shed load better. So this is what it sounds like now with the drums, and I've kind of organised the drums and I've organised sections of the organ audio just to sound more kind of hip-hoppy than it would have been otherwise. It just sounds like more chopped, which is actually a sound I like. But here it goes. It sounds like this. This is reversed. Let's just repeat reverse sounds. Idea. It really needs a bass line now at this point, and this is where we start to bring some nice flavour to this track. I've added a bass line here, and it makes all the difference in my opinion. I've turned it up a little bit, given it some gain, done some channel EQ on it, just to really bring out them low frequencies, because I want this to be sort of kind of like dubby, sub-bassy type sound, and compression, just so it is it's not so. It just makes the most out of the sound, basically compressing it, and it's just a real simple sound I just made on the ES2 synth that you find in Logic, in mono and unison. It's just a square sound, so it's got it's just a square wave on there. Nothing too special. It's got a bit of glide on there. I'd turned up some of the sine wave on there. It's got like a chorus on there, and a bit of distortion. Just makes it sound like a real dutty sounding bass line, which is what I like, particularly for this bass and for this track. It's got an attack on there, like sort of slower attack, so it kind of comes in a little bit slowly. It's a little bit lumbering. Long density on there, and there is it's not much sustain, but it's a long release on there, so makes a difference. And you'll see when it kicks in, it makes me want to nod my head. Can't help it, which is kind of what you want really when you're making a track. Otherwise, why bother? Just go home. Starts as normal, and here we go. 2, 3. This bit. So now it's starting to come together. You hear that bass line still going. That's the long release on there. But yeah, Another thing I've added here is just my voice just saying yo on there, and it sounds a bit naff initially. Basically, I just sampled my voice saying yo and just repeated it at little points. Added a reverb to it, and I also pitched it down to make it more interesting. But this is what it sounds like, just my voice without the reverb or anything. Just sounds utter wank. But yo, 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 yo. Sounds robotic, but kind of in a cool way. I ain't mad at that. Added some reverb to make it more interesting. Yo, 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 yo. But when you pitch it down, that's where it starts to make a difference. It starts to sound a bit more intriguing. Here we go. That's a bit more to it, and then hearing that with the actual everything else. That okie smokes. So I added an extra thing. We've got all the other parts now. I added an extra thing, which is just like a real subtle kind of synth sound, which I just made on using Alchemy, which is a very cool synth that's in Logic. You can see the parameters here. I just use multiple different saw waves with a bit of a noise, and use quite heavy glide on there as well. And yeah, I just created this sound. Sound, and you got it here as well. The thing is the sound sort of changes using the synth, and I just wanted one consistent sound, but I wanted it pitched differently. So you know, I was quite happy to have exactly the same sound every time you press the key or press the note, but yeah, it would just be like at a different pitch. So what I found, like with this synth in Alchemy, is it would sort of be a bit too varied. So what I did was go and use Alchemy again, but I actually converted the sound to audio, and just found this one sound which sounded spot on, which I believe was this one here. Yeah, it's just got like the perfect rise to it and got the perfect sort of delay. And I did that, and then I put that back into, I resampled it on the on Alchemy here, and that's all this is really. It's basically just me playing. It's I've called it Final Crazy Synth Glide, and just put it and pitched it basically, so it's just playing exactly that same sound but just at different pitches, which is all I wanted. So you can hear that kind of here. Obviously that's a much lower tone, and then higher, and I just played that at very varied times throughout the track, so you can hear the track at this point from here. The track or the beat changes up, just as sort of an extra signifier as to when the track's changing. So there's that. Right, so I've pretty much done the beat here, added my cheeky little beat tag here, which you can see and you'll hear, but this is kind of pretty much it. So I'm just going to play it. You can have a listen. I'll be putting a track up relatively soon. If I haven't put it up already, chances are if you're watching this video, I might have put this track up already. But I'm going to put it up all over the place, including like on BeatStars. So if you want to buy the beat to spit over to it or something, you do you. Just get it in it. It'll be good for morale. Anyway.
So I hope you enjoyed the video showing how I put that beat together. If you like the video, then make sure you give the video a like. It does help the video out quite a bit. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so you get a notification anytime I put a new video up. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon for those that want like early releases of any of my music or beats or anything like that. Does help. It all goes to a good cause, which is me. And yeah, you can check me out on Spotify for anyone who wants to check out my music, and anyone wants to buy any beats off me. If I haven't got any music up right now, I will have later down the line, but check me out on BeatStars, as well as checking out my website www.lordlav.com. Keep an eye out for more videos, and take it easy. Peace.